I'm not saying this to brag. I want to say this to give you perspective. The largest deal that I did for the first, I would say from 2018 when I started, 2017 when I started let's say 2020, the biggest brand deal I did was with, I'm not going to say the brand because I don't want to put their information out there, but they paid me over $37,000 for 7 videos across 7 months. Okay? And that was when I was like, oh dude, there's money here. What is up, everyone? My name is Jon Dawson. I am a influencer, I guess you could call me, builder, contractor, DIYer, homesteader, just a general life person. My goal in life was to spend as much time with family and friends doing things that I love to do and see if I can get paid for it. And I just want to tell you guys kind of how I got started, and maybe you guys can use some of this information to buy, some land, to build a house, to have, in my case, a ranch or a home worth over $1 million, and you barely had to pay any of that money out of your own pocket. And that's not to brag, because nothing that I have here is special. If you looked at it, you'd be like, eh. But for me, it came from someone who thought I would literally be in an apartment living my whole life. I thought I would be worth next to nothing and chasing paycheck after paycheck my entire life. And to me, it's wild that a lot of this has been achieved through social media. And I just want to give you my story. In my case, I'm going to be talking about construction, but I want you to think about this in a way that may apply to you. So the way this started was I was in college playing football, went to the pro days, combines, fell short, didn't make it to the NFL. That was the dream. For any athlete out there, if you guys played high school, college ball, even professional, whatever level you played at, there's a significant amount of depression that hits when you no longer can play sports anymore. When you fight next to your brothers every single day, whether you're competing in the weight room, competing at practice, competing on the field at game day, you have crowds screaming, there's this level of purpose that you have. I imagine it's a minor version of what people would feel when they're in the military and they go to Afghanistan or wherever else, and they come back and you just lose this significant portion of your life where you had all of your purpose placed. So after college, I didn't make it to the NFL, obviously. I felt this lack of purpose. And what I had done in college was I had flipped a house because I couldn't afford rent. So I actually bought a house. It was like a crack house, spray paint, floors caving in, terrible house. But I bought it for a couple $1,000s down, and then the mortgage was like a quarter of what my rent was. So I had worked construction in high school. My dad had a flooring store, so I laid flooring over the summer. So I was like, well, I'm going to use whatever skills I have to remodel this house, and then when I'm done here at college, I'll see if I can sell it for a profit. So I did that over the course of going to school and playing football, and eventually finished it out. And with that, I was like, wow, like there's some fun here. There's some competition here. There's some excitement here. But I was still chasing the football dream. So I sold that house. I made some good money off it. But then I spent all that money sitting around waiting for a phone call from an NFL team, waiting for a phone call from a CFL team. So I sat in California for about 6 months being like, I want to get on a team. And then it hit me. I'm like, I'm going to sit here and wait, and my life's going to be in someone else's hands the rest of my life. If a team calls me, then I go to their mini camp. But what if I sprain my ankle? Or what if I'm not good enough? Then I'm back on the couch with nothing to show for it. What if I even make it? Let's say dream opportunity. I make it on a team, practice squad. Maybe I'm even a second stringer somewhere. I could be done like that. And then when I looked at rookie contracts, I was like $145,000 at the time when I was trying to go in there. I'm like, $145,000 wouldn't even buy me a house in California, not even a crappy house in California. And then I was like, what am I doing here? I'm spending my life chasing a dream that will be in someone else's hands the rest of my life. And even then, it's not even going to pay that much. I knew my skill level. I wasn't going to be a J.J. Watt, right? I knew my skill level. I knew where I was going to cap out, and it wasn't even going to change my life. So with that, my wife and I talked about it, like, let's flip houses. We flipped one in college. Let's see if we can flip one. And then we looked into California. We couldn't afford a house in California. Couldn't even afford land in California. So we looked at the map. We're like, okay, what states have great real estate, great, growth, a lot of college towns, stuff like that. We ended up here in Texas. So we moved into a sublease because we didn't have credit or enough money to get our own lease. Someone bought a house and they had 6 months left on their lease. So we didn't take over their lease actually, because we couldn't. We basically paid their rent for them while they moved into their other house. And then we just had to move out during, like, whenever that lease was up. So I had 6 months to figure it out. So I got a hard money loan. I bought an $80,000 house. Hard money loan had the renovation budget and the purchase price of the house in it. And I spent a year flipping that house. Thankfully, by the skin of my teeth, made it out, made a little bit of profit on it, but we were so far behind because I didn't have another job. I was flipping that house full time. So I wasn't making money for pretty much that year, except for the construction draws, which I shouldn't have, but I took part of that construction draw just to basically put gas in my car and food on the table. That's pretty much all we had. So by the time we flipped that house and we made that money, most of that money was gone before we even saw it, because we had to pay bills. We had to get caught up on all of our expenses because we were way behind. We had debt collectors, all that other stuff. So with that, I was like, okay, there's something here. If we can get this figured out, like, we could flip houses. So I started making videos to kind of promote, to potentially draw up more money. I made some Instagram posts of me building some things, just to show track record to any investor, maybe a private money lender, to say, hey, here's the house that I flipped. Here's the content of the house that I flipped. Would you guys want to invest? Maybe have a little bit less interest than I would have with a hard money loan. But as I started making that content, I realized that I was getting followed by just random people across the country who wanted to learn about what I was doing. So I was like, well, what if I just start teaching these people things? Maybe some of these people have a lot of money and they'll want to invest in me. So I just started educating. Here's how to build a custom mantle. Here's how to do a laundry room bench, hideaway storage area. Here's how to install a washer. Here's how to flash a window. Here's how to remove a chimney and frame up the chimney hole. And I just started making those videos, and I just got more and more followers. I think I ended up at 1,500 followers. And then a buddy of mine now, but at the time I'd never known him, he was like, hey man, your engagement is insane. I think I was at like 14-15% engagement rate at 1,500 followers. So I was getting 300, 400, 500 likes on an average post. Every now and then I would get like 800 likes on a post. He's like, you should start working on partnerships. And I was like, what's a partnership? Mind you, this is back in 2017, 18. And I was like, what's a partnership? He's like, well, people will pay you or send you product to put their product in the videos. And I was like, bro, I got 1,500 followers. Nobody's gonna send me anything for 1,500 followers. But he's like, just try it. Like, what product do you already use? And I was like, well, I wear Irish Setter boots. I love Irish Setter boots. And they're like $250. He was like, make a video about Irish Setter boots, send it to them and say, hey, you wanna make more videos like this? And if you guys send me some boots, I'll make a video. And Irish Setter said yes. That was the first partnership I ever did, was with Irish Setter boots. Shout out to Irish Setter. I still wear their boots to this day. Amazing company. So they sent me a free pair of boots, and I was like, okay, that's crazy. I just got free $250 boots for literally posting, I think it was like 3 or 4 videos. And I was like, okay, this is something. So I just kept making content. I kept making content, teaching people things. This fly is killing me. Keep teaching people things. And over time, I gained more and more followers. And then I think the next company I reached out to, I'm trying to figure out who it was. I reached out to DeWalt. They said no. I reached out to quite a few companies. 90% of them said no, right? A lot of them are going to say no. And then I think the first one that paid me was Spider Products. And I have a saw sitting right here, right now, with a spider blade on it. I still use Spider. I haven't been partnered with them for the last few years, but actually recently partnered with them again recently. I partnered with them. They were the first company to pay me money to post per month. They paid me $350 for 3 videos and 3 story posts a month. And I was like, dude, that's crazy. I'm getting paid $100 to post a video. And at that time I had maybe 4,900 followers or something like that. But my engagement was good. I was getting 1,000 likes on my posts, right? And here's where my mind had to shift. So if you want to create YouTube videos, if you want to create TikToks, Instagram Reels, here's the mentality that you have to have. If you are in a niche, whether it's construction, whatever it is, and you have an audience that watches you, people that sell products to that industry have warm leads. You are a collective of warm leads. I had 1,000 people liking my posts who were interested in blue collar industry, right? Construction, whatever belongs to that thing. So Irish Setter was like, well, this dude has, everybody that follows him, he'd probably know at least one person that wears work boots. This would be a great investment to send them some boots, right? Spider Products was like, well, hey, if this guy's building things and he has builders watching him, even though he only has 4,900 followers, someone, or pretty much everyone that follows him knows somebody that buys blades. So you got to understand that even though your views or your following may be small, these companies are basically buying warm leads. They're buying 4,900 warm leads that are already interested in what their product is, right? So as my follower count scaled, my engagement scaled, I started reaching out to more and more people. I started making videos around stuff. For example, I have a Johnson level here. I've never partnered with Johnson, but if I wanted to get a partnership with Johnson levels, I would basically take a tool that I already have like this, and I would make a video. being like, oh, look, this trailer is perfectly level. I love this level because it's small. I can push this out this way if this wasn't 7 years old and pop the end out if I got to get flush to something. Really cool level. I really like it. And then I post that video on Instagram and I tag them in it and I say nothing. They're going to see it, trust me. And when they see that, they're going to be like, oh, that's interesting. You just planted a seed, and whoever's managing their social media, this guy's using our levels. Usually they'll follow you back because they want this content. Many of them will say, hey, we saw your video. Can we repost it on our stories? And I'm like, yeah, go for it. And I ask for nothing in return. And then a couple weeks down the road, I might mention it in another video, not even using the tool, but I might just like level something out and be like, okay, cool, we're good to go. And then I'll just tag them in that video and they'll see that one as well. They'll like it. Maybe they'll ask to share that one as well. And then after maybe a month goes by, I reach out to them and I say, hey, Johnson, I use your product. I love your product. You've seen some videos that I've already made. I'd like to make more videos. Would you guys be interested in, talking about a potential partnership? And that's how I started reaching out to people and gaining these partnerships. Another great example is Diamondback tool belts. This is the first right here. This is the first Diamondback tool belt that I've ever gotten from Diamondback. And this was back when I made zero money off of them whatsoever. And they were like, we just want to send you a belt. We want you to do the badass work that you're doing, but we want you to do it in Diamondback. So when Damani reached out and told me that, I was like, yeah, dude, send me the setup. I was stoked. It was like a $500-600 setup. My tool belt was probably $300 maybe, and I had just bought that. And I was like, dude, yeah, absolutely. Got this tool belt. I rocked it for probably 3 years before I even talked about making money with them. And honestly, I think it was probably 4 years before we even set something up to where I made money off wearing that. But it showed that I was working with companies. When companies see that you're working with companies, they're like, okay, they've been vetted. There's money to be made with these people. I wouldn't, Diamondback tool belts or Spider products or Irish Setter wouldn't be investing in this influencer if there was no ROI, if there was no return on investment. So companies start looking at you with a little bit more respect when they see that you're working with these companies. And as I was doing that, I was just trying to step my game up on my content. So to carry this further so we don't go through every step that I took necessarily with each brand, I kept creating the content, and once I reached to about 15,000 followers, that's when things really started pouring in. I was getting partnerships all across the industry, and I started actually focusing more on my content than actually building my construction business. Because what I found is I was making more money reoccurring monthly than I was making in my construction company. And the main reason is because I had no overhead. So in the construction company, I was making a ton of money, right? We were doing, $300,000 commercial build. We were doing, $50,000, $60,000 remodels. But when you pay your employees, you expense everything out, you're making, I don't know, $3-4 grand here and there, right? You got to have all these irons in the fire, all this management, all these people that you're paying. And I was making $3-4 grand a month off of posting videos. Right? So that's when I was like, okay, well, what if I turn my construction company into more of a specific niche of we're going to do high efficiency, smart builds, efficient builds, fun builds, eye-catching builds, and everything else we're just going to say no to. Because this gives me the ability to create more content with cool projects while also landing more partnerships because the projects that I'm doing are cool. Right? I hope that makes sense. So that's why when people are like, oh, what does John do? You may see me like right now, I'm not building anything. I haven't been building anything for probably about 2 years. Right? Why haven't I been building anything? Because I've been doing stuff around my own ranch, building stuff and getting paid more in partnerships than I would be getting if I was building a 5,000 square foot custom home right now. Because all it is, I've created this ecosystem of my life is monetized. If I'm, for example, sitting in this trailer, if you look behind me, 90% of what's behind me, I've either been given for free or paid to be given for free and make content about. And one thing that I will say about this that is the most important and the reason why my followers may be lower, my subscribers may be lower than some other people, but I probably make the same amount, if not more than them, is because I say no to a lot. I probably get 2 or 3 emails a day about a partnership, an Amazon product, an electric mower, just today I got a thing for like a remote control car. And usually partner or content creators, oh, $500, you're going to pay me to make a video about this, remote control car. Bet I'll get a free remote control car and I'll make $500. But your brand just starts dropping and dropping and dropping because people are like, this dude's going to take a dime from anybody willing to give him one to make a video. For me, I turned down $2,000 a month deals because I'm like, sorry, I used your product and I didn't like it. And I'm not going to tell someone online that I like it because then they're going to go get it and then they're going to hate it and they're going to know that I'm full of shit. right? So one reason why I get paid a premium for what I do, I'm not saying this to brag. I want to say this to give you perspective. The largest deal that I did for the first, I would say from 2018 when I started, 2017 when I started let's say 2020, the biggest brand deal I did was with, I'm not going to say the brand because I don't want to put their information out there, but they paid me over $37,000 for 7 videos across 7 months. Okay? And that was when I was like, oh, dude, there's money here. But when I locked down that deal, I was like, holy crap, this is insane. Like this is a whole new world. And then I dove into research, and this is what I want you guys to take home. Television ads are a 60-something billion dollar industry. I think they spend a little over 63, or they used to spend $63 billion a year on television ads. And if you want to leave a comment in the comment section below, how many of you guys have watched a television ad in the last 5 years? Like how many of you guys have actually, besides like the Super Bowl, how many of you guys have actually watched a television ad? Usually when the television ad pops on, you immediately open your phone and you start scrolling through social media. You watch my videos, right? You go to your favorite TikToker, your favorite YouTuber. You're scrolling through Facebook, right? So these companies have said, well, why are we spending $68 billion on a television ad that doesn't make us any money, that no one's watching? What if we reallocate that 67 or 60 whatever billion dollars to social media, where everybody goes when they're sitting in the car at the pickup line, where everybody goes when they're sitting at the movie theater and the previews are playing, where everybody goes when they're sitting on the couch watching a show that they can't fast forward the preview or fast forward the commercials in, right? So you've got to understand the value of that. Now, niching that down, which I think is the important thing, is the building industry is what, like $1 trillion industry or something, $1 billion industry, whatever it is. Think about how many opportunities these people actually have to showcase their products. You're not going to see a Johnson commercial on NBC. You're not going to see a Flex Power Tool commercial on NBC. You're not going to see a Swanson Speed Square commercial on HGTV, right? You're just not going to see it. That's not where they spend their money. So where are they getting views? Where are they getting a loyal following? They're probably running Facebook ads. They're probably paying influencers. They're doing trade shows. They're trying to do product placement. That's where you guys can make money. Now, maybe you're not in the building space. Maybe you're in a different space. But you got to realize the value of your audience is very important. It's very valuable to these companies, even if you have 1,500 followers, but you have good engagement. The true determinant of why or when someone will invest in you is when you find your authenticity and you stick to it. So for example, I wasn't going to pretend to keep being a construction guy when I knew that I'm more now of a homesteader and a performance builder. So I'm not trying to pretend that I'm doing 1,000 projects a year, right? I'm not going to pretend I'm doing 10 projects a year. I'm going to be authentic and say, hey, I'm working on my ranch. I'm building my ranch up. I'm about to build a custom house here. I built a custom, commercial build over here. That's what I'm doing. But everything that I say to you is authentic. Even this video right now, it's not polished. It's not this. It's not that. It's me being 100% honest with you guys. So if you really want to end up on a $1 million ranch when you're 33, if you want to end up with, some of the bells and whistles that I have, which again, most of them are overrated in the sense that if I was legitimately just working a 9 to 5, I would never buy most of these. But because it makes money, for example, my truck, I just bought, a $105,000 truck. I would never buy that truck. I would never recommend you guys to buy that truck. It's completely pointless. But that truck makes its money and then some. It is a rolling billboard. I have all of my sponsorships who paid to be on that truck, right? They paid for that truck, and then that truck is going to get paid again once, because it's a 1-year contract. That truck's going to get paid for again next year when I take those sponsors off and I sell the truck as a sponsorship rolling billboard again next year, right? So each year that goes by, I'm making money off that truck, which is why I bought it. So being someone that's online and creating content gives you the ability to live a life that you want to live, do the things that you want to do while getting paid to do them. We have people out here that are travel bloggers or travel vloggers, and they get paid to travel. I get paid to build stuff that I want to build, right? I get paid to travel to Canada, to California, to wherever I'm going. I'm going to a bunch of places this year: Las Vegas, South Dakota. I was just, where was I? Detroit, Ohio, a bunch of places. I can't remember all of them. All of that is because I decided to post videos on social media. And I think if people would step outside of their comfort zone, being like, I'm not made for camera. Bro, no one's made for camera. I'm not made for camera, right? I look like I'm made for camera because I can sit in front of a camera and I can talk and it seems like I'm talking to people. But in the end, I'm just sitting here staring at trees and cows, having a conversation about something that helped me get to a place that I'm at now. So I think if you guys can take your niche. If it's construction, I highly recommend going into construction. If you're in the construction space or want to be in the construction space, start off with DIYs around your house and make content around it. The construction space on social media is undersaturated. Undersaturated. Like if you're going into makeup, that's an overly saturated industry. Everybody and their sister wants to do makeup hauls and tutorials and all this other stuff. Even gym wear is an oversaturated. I'm not saying you can't make money on it. I'm just saying it's oversaturated. It's a little bit harder to break in there and actually leverage your following and your person than it is in a space like me where there's maybe 100, 200 real contractors, real DIYers out there creating content, which means you're splitting millions of dollars between 100 people if you can get out there and present yourself in the right light. I just think that more people need to understand that these companies need to sell product, and they will always need to. Lowe's will always need to get people through the door, right? Diamondback will always need to sell tool belts, okay? Tool brands will always need to sell tools. How do they sell tools nowadays? I promise you, most of you who are on social media, you hear about tools on social media before you hear about them anywhere else. Who do you think is getting paid to make sure you hear about these tools? So if you are somebody in the blue collar space, start creating content. It doesn't have to be good. You should see some of my first videos. They're absolutely terrible, but I did it and people liked it. And especially now, this is the perfect time to get into social media because things have become so curated. Things are polished. Things are AI. Things are presented in this perfect manicured way. And everyone, including myself, we're starting to get drawn towards the less designed content, the less curated, the less polished content. I want to see someone doing real things. I don't want to see someone who has an entire camera crew who's been told what to say, basically HGTV for social media. I don't want to see that. I want to see the guy who's actually out there tearing the wall out, figuring it out. The camera may not be the highest quality. The audio may be shoddy. That's fine. That is now becoming the dominant content across social media platforms, is authenticity and people who are actually creating to create, not just creating for money. And I will, for the life of me, I will never create for money. I will always create for education and entertainment. I enjoy it and I want to teach people. That's why I do it. And as soon as I don't want to teach people anymore and I don't want to create content, I don't care what dollar you throw at me, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it, right? So maintain that authenticity, make your stupid videos, post them, because there are potentially millions of dollars that are sitting right outside your doorstep that you have to cash in on. I appreciate you guys watching. Make sure to subscribe, like, comment. If you want to see more videos like this, let me know. This is a random video that I normally don't do, but I appreciate you guys. Go out there and do something.